And we are live. You're on mute.
Welcome back, everybody, to another Football Friday here at 305 Takes. And today's podcast will be breaking down the games with the biggest implication on the playoff picture as we go into this weekend. And before we get started, we'd like to give a shout out to E2G Sports, our presenting sponsor here at 305 Takes, as they handle everything behind the scenes for us. Uh, Definitely check over to the website for all the latest NFL news, fantasy news, as we're going into this playoff home stretch. You'll definitely be checking out some shows. They'll keep you guys posted up with everything that you need for over there. And for me and Angel, we're excited to get into this podcast. So let's get right to it. And let's start off with the games that have the biggest implications on the playoffs. And we'll start off with our hometown team, the Miami Dolphins, traveling to the New England Patriots. And before we even get down into the breakdown of the game, we have to start off with the news of Tua with suffering a concussion for the second one that they're saying is confirmed, but we all have our doubts about what happened in that Buffalo game as well. So possible third concussion on the season for him. And we were talking about the Dolphins in that meltdown against the Packers in the second half, and there's the video circulating around where he definitely hits his head on tackle, and it kind of makes sense. It kind of makes sense, how the offense just kind of went completely away after that, and especially in the second half. So he will obviously be out for this game. We don't know, immediately what that will mean for his future with the team, with future for his career, but we hope that he can get back. Hopefully, even if it's for the following week against the Jets. But going into this week, it's the Dolphins going with Teddy Bridgewater up to New England, and I feel like it's kind of like the perfect time for the Dolphins to like get this matchup because we've had questions about their defense, and honestly, I thought the defense played pretty well against Rodgers with all things considered, considering the turnovers and the kind of the spots they were put in with the long kickoff to start off the game as well, the kickoff return. And what do we know about this Patriots team? They're pretty terrible on offense.
They're bad. They are bad.
So I don't really think that this is the team that's necessarily going to take advantage of the Dolphins' weakness, which is the defense. And you know, the thing that concerns me is just what does this mean for the offense? Because we saw, the stretch where Tua, suffered the first concussion, was out for the set of the weeks, and in both of those games, whether it was the Jets game or the Vikings game, both quarterbacks got hurt, whether it was Teddy or it was Skyler. So it was like the quarterback that you game plan for couldn't even finish the week or
Yeah.
finish the game. So the quarterback that you have in the game for the majority of the game is not the quarterback you game plan going into the game, the week for. So I think Teddy can, do his best to a impersonation, but it's just when the Dolphins offense has looked good, I feel like it's been a lot based on how Tua has played. So I'm concerned about how the offense is going to look going into this matchup.
Yeah. I mean, I'm pretty sure it would just look the same. It would just be in the opposite direction since Tua being a left handed quarterback and Teddy's a righty. I'm pretty sure everyone's now going to adjust to all the rollouts or maybe all the targets. Like, hey, instead of it being this way, it's going to be the opposite way. So they're probably just rerunning all those plays. But I feel like this is a good amount of time to have that matchup with the Patriots because, like you said, bro, that offense for the Patriots, bro, they're so bad. I mean, they are bad. And this could give the Dolphins defense a ton of confidence because if they win this week, this does help out their playoff chances so much. Because if they lose this game, I'm pretty sure they're out of the playoff picture. And it would be do or die come next week against the Jets.
Yeah, it'd be do or die, and you would need things to happen depending on this weekend's matchups.
Yeah. And for the Patriots, if they were able to make the playoffs with this team, I don't see them going far. I don't see them putting up much of a fight. But
That's the thing because they have no offense. So like there is like kind of motivation for them to like be like, all right, this is a lost cause. Maybe we give up on Mac. Maybe we just kind of punt on the season and get a higher pick because they're definitely not doing anything. And do they really want to repeat what happened last year where they got embarrassed by the Bills in the playoffs?
yeah, bro, I mean, I remember that because I texted you and I was like, bro, what happened to Buffalo? And then we just went on a tangent on that podcast about what happened to the Bills. And it was kind of just like the Patriots just like when you want to talk about a beatdown, that was a beatdown,
And
and I'm
even
pretty
when
sure the
you
Bills
look
were
at
holding
it,
it for years.
even if you look at the Patriots like season, like okay, they came back a little bit on the Bengals last week, but they needed that
A
Hail Mary
lot of
that was literally
miscues.
batted into somebody's hands. They get
Yeah,
a pick six in the second half as well, and the Bengals miss an extra point and a field goal in the second half. So that makes the game look a little bit closer than even though that their defense is good, they're
yeah.
banged up going into this week. Marcus Jones, the guy who is a defensive back that also scored a touchdown on offense for them because they needed a spark plug and they got it from their defensive back room. It has a concussion, hasn't practiced all week. Devontae Parker hasn't played since that concussion he suffered in that Monday night game. Um, Even Jack Jones, their other rookie cornerback, hasn't practiced this week for with a knee injury. So this might be the perfect time to go to New England with your backup quarterback. And I
He
like the
could steal a
Dolphins
win.
this week. I like the Dolphins this week. I mean, I think they should be able to run the ball against this Patriots team. I think Mostert's been really running hard for them. Jeff Wilson has been, a good supplement when he's actually, been able to stay on the field. So I like the Dolphins this week, honestly.
Yeah, no, I think so too. I think the Dolphins should be the favorites in this game. And if the Dolphins could get that running game going, I feel like they can really take over this game real fast. But that will be the thing. Can they get that running game going against that Patriots defense where we could say this, the best addition they made in that offseason where they spent all that money? Matthew Judon has been amazing for them. Now, they can't deny the amount of money they gave him because, I mean, he's top 5 in sacks. I think he's also top 5 in pressures. I don't know where he ranks in tackles for losses, but he's been amazing ever since he's gotten to New England. And
And Josh Uche has really been coming on for them strong as well. We saw him blow up that Arizona offensive line
he
in
was
that Monday night
amazing.
game as well. Yeah. So
So
that
it's
that
going
would
to
be
be
the
tough.
one thing. But I feel like because we it's Teddy's thing is that he can get the ball out of his hands quick, but he's probably going to check it down a lot more.
Yeah,
Which
a lot.
honestly, I think Tua could learn from to like actually go through the reads, and if you have to check it down, it might not be the worst thing. So I could see how it could help the offense out a little bit, but I do expect them to game plan to get Tyreek the ball a lot and just try to use their speed as much as possible because I mean that's the one thing that we've been talking about with this team the entire season is
Use
just
your
the speed
speed.
across the board. Yeah.
You can't coach speed, and it's pretty incredibly hard to stop. But no, I do think the Dolphins should be. I think they should be fine going into this game just because the matchup, like you said at the beginning, this is the perfect time to play the Patriots. If the Dolphins were to play anyone right now, or the Jets, I feel like the Jets are probably at the right time too, just because the Jets have all this drama going around their
But the
organization.
Jets are getting Mike White back.
They
So
are
I
getting
mean
Mike White back,
it's
but
a crazy thing to say, but when you just consider what they've
the
gotten
impact
from
he's had, yeah.
Zach Wilson, yeah. I mean, just the impact you get from having just a competent quarterback when you have Zach Wilson on your team is the crazy part.
But he'll be coming off, so he'll be a little bit rusty. So I feel like this also would have been a good time to play the Jets. But right, it should be a solid game. It's definitely going to be more one of the most watched games, just because everyone's going to be looking at the Miami Dolphins again.
And
Obviously for the wrong reasons, mainly because everyone's like, "What's happening with
how
Tua?"
did this happen again? Yeah.
And so it's definitely going to be up there. And I don't want to talk too much about Tua because he is injured. He's in concussion protocol. Obviously, he's seen specialists at the time too, and also going through concussion protocol. The only thing I just would like to know going into these games, are they going to shut him down for the rest of the year? Because I think this game will depend on it. Even though I feel like they should have shut him down for the rest of the season after he got into second protocol for the second time. I don't know if the Dolphins will. That's my thing because I think if they make the playoffs, I think they'll
I
try
mean,
to
as
bring back
long as
Tua.
as long as the as a doctor clears him, I think he's going to play football. As long as he wants to, and the medical team clears him, I don't see what reason they wouldn't. And I mean, I I struggle with this one because obviously I want him to be fine, and I don't want him to have a long, lasting trauma from playing football. But I do also see people that point out the arguments on the other side that Pickett's had two concussions this season, and he's a rookie, and no one's really made this outroar about him needing to step away. We saw Stafford also get two concussions this season as well. So I get that Tua's the first one was obviously very, very
But
in your
Matthew
face.
Stafford
And
got shut down for the season.
Stafford did get stuff shut down for the season, but that was it's a good point. So that's why I just don't know exactly what to do with the situation. I think if he gets cleared and and he wants to continue to play football, it's the same with anything. I don't think you should necessarily lose your job because of an injury. If you can medically get cleared, then all right, then you can get cleared. All right. But if you get cleared and you're just not the same player, then that's a different argument.
Yeah. I mean, we'll see. It's gonna be a game to watch.
And
I
I
just,
think this game, just like if we put a bigger picture, I think it's a big game for Mike McDaniel. Even though
hmm
he is a rookie head coach, like he's going up against Bill Belichick, probably arguably one of the greatest coaches of all time, if not the best. And we're gonna see what he can scheme up and what he can game plan against Bill Belichick defense with a backup quarterback in a game they really need to win.
this game could also help his chances of gaining back momentum for Coach of the Year because I feel like at this point, I feel like Brian Daboll has a little bit of an edge over him just because the Giants are more playoff bound than the Dolphins. But I mean,
And the
we'll see at the end
Dolphins
of the
season
year.
has just been so streaky though, because
Yeah.
they win three, then they lose four, I think, then they
Yeah, to
win
go from eight
five.
and three to 8-7, I feel like
Yeah,
that really hurt
they're
Mike
so
McDaniel's
streaky.
argument for Coach of the Year.
But
That's
I mean, they could win out, and the argument will be definitely benefited. But yeah, I think they will probably, and especially considering how that division's kind of shaped out, the
Nick
NFC
Sirianni
East.
also has a very strong argument.
Yeah, and there was somebody else I was hearing an argument for too. Um, I thought it was Steve Wilkes. If they make the playoffs,
It's
they look bad under Matt Rule.
Yeah, no, that's a good argument for someone if they want to talk about Steve Wilkes. The only thing I feel like what will hurt him is that all these guys were coaching since week one. Him is just until that point. But it's like you said, under Matt Rule, bro, they were bad. They were bad, and they traded
And
their two best players.
that's a perfect transition into our next topic, as one of the games we were going to talk about is the Carolina Panthers traveling to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, which has huge implications on the NFC South, which the Tampa Bay Buccaneers with a win can just straight up clinch the division. All the drama, everything. If they just win this game against against the Carolina Panthers, they'll be able to clinch their division. But I think this is a sneaky game for them because Carolina has been really,
They've looked good.
really good
They're
these
running the
last couple of
ball,
weeks. And that's the surprising thing because they traded Christian McCaffrey.
and now they average what like 200 yards on the ground in their
I
their
think they
last
put up
four games.
238 against Detroit last week. Here, I'll pull up the stats against Detroit last week. But the only thing that makes me think that Tampa Bay really can put them away pretty easily is that Carolina is so thin at cornerback because J.C. Horn got hurt. They had
Mhm.
to sign Josh Norman off the street. And the
Oh, God.
story was this that he has his own barista cafe type of place that he owns in Atlanta and he was working at the time he got the call from the Carolina Panthers. So shout out Josh Norman for getting back into the league after all these years and going back hometown or kind of a reunion with the Carolina Panthers, a team where he basically got famous. So that would be the thing that scares me because I don't know if if Tom Brady and the Bucks can just 5 yards at a time out routes to Mike Evans just win this game.
I would just say for Tampa, once you see Josh Norman on the field, just go after him. The dude sucks. He's trash. It's obvious. It's been known for years. It's just the Washington Commanders at what the team they are now. They saw in the building every day. Buffalo. There's a reason why he's not in Buffalo anymore. He's trash. The dude is trash. Like there's no way fans or buts. But to go off of the game, I do think Carolina has a very good chance of winning. Because, like we said, bro, that running game, it's actually been really, really good. Chua Hubbard and Foreman, they have been balling. And DJ Moore, he's been getting more involved in the offense, and so has Terrence Marshall. Terrence Marshall now has been getting more involved, so now you see actually the games being like played out well. And Sam Darnold has been playing solid football. I can't say he has been playing bad these past couple of games. So I do like what I'm seeing from the Panthers, but man, with the way how the season has gone, I know the Bucks are within like a score, and there's 2 minutes left. I just know the Buccaneers are gonna pull it off.
Yeah,
That
because
that
doesn't
would be
this game feel like a game where Tampa Bay's down at halftime, but somehow they win the game and they're celebrating afterwards because they won the NFC South?
yeah, where it's like I see it. The only thing I just know that was going through my head, if Tampa loses and if Carolina wins this week and they win next week, the division's theirs. And then we could say for the first time in our fandom, Tom Brady is not in the playoffs
Yeah, and I mean, is this not the most losses we've seen Tom Brady
in
have in
the
a regular
year.
season?
Yep,
Yeah,
it's the
like
most.
it's
That
crazy.
would be nuts to end like oh well no, to be start 2023. Tom Brady is the playoffs for the first time.
Yeah. And to your point about Carolina, I would shortchange them. Last week against Detroit, they ran for 320 yards. The Deontay Foreman 165 on 21 carries for 7 yards a carry. Chuba Hubbard 125 yards and 12 carries for 10 yards a carry. So this is a team that, I mean, they have an identity. And to your point, Sam Darnold is trying to, at least say I can be a backup quarterback in this league. Like he's fighting for his life out here. So
And
the
he
fight
hasn't
with
been
Steve
playing
Wilkes,
bad.
man, they haven't been playing bad. And honestly, I mean, even that Carolina game, they look good. They have a lot of fight in them. And this is a team that you can honestly, I'm glad you mentioned the DJ Moore part, because if you look at it, this is a team that could honestly probably already have clinched the NFC South, because you look at, I think it was week 1 or 2, they lose to Cleveland on like a 60-yard field goal by
Yeah,
Cade York,
walk
the
off.
rookie kicker. And then you look at the Atlanta game, if they don't call that flag on DJ Moore for taking his helmet off, and
They
they
win the
don't,
game.
they probably win the game if the extra
And,
point is just right there.
and
So like
also
they,
week 2, they lost to a walk-off field goal against the
yeah,
Giants.
yeah. So
So
like
essentially
yeah,
that's 3 wins off of the record.
yeah. So if the results just go a little bit different in any of those games, we might be having a completely different discussion. So I don't think this is a game that people should necessarily think that Tampa Bay should just walk all over Carolina.
Carolina's
And
going to give him a fight.
but the thing that I find interesting is, especially how this team played last night. I like that matchup of Tampa Bay versus Dallas.
Oh my gosh, bro.
I love that matchup. I love, because Dallas is weird, man. Dallas is a weird team.
How many starters were out for Tennessee? What, like 14?
They started Josh Dobbs at quarterback. That's all you need
Exactly.
to have.
Like it was
That's all
supposed to
you
be
need to know.
Malik Willis. This, Josh Dobbs comes up and is named the starter. Derrick Henry is not playing. Jeff Simmons is not playing. And then I could keep going on. Really, the only person I knew on defense that was starting was Kevin Byard. And on offense, I didn't know who was starting outside the wide receivers.
And
I
it
didn't know.
honestly brings up like an interesting discussion. Like, does this 17 game schedule, like, does it make the league better? Because you get a game like last night where it literally has no impact on the Titans. Like, next week is the week that matters.
Yeah.
And then the Jags have to play this weekend. And same thing, next week is the week that matters because they play each other. And then remember a couple of years ago, we got the famous Doug Peterson game where he started Nate Sudfeld for the Eagles, and he's now involved in another one because he's the coach of the Jags this
Jags.
week. So it's like, what does this really matter for some of these teams? And then you even have like matchups like this week where you have the Packers playing the Vikings, and that game kind of might determine the 2 seed, and then San Francisco plays later that night. So they might be like, all right, we only have to play hard for a half. So
Yeah.
it brings up an interesting discussion, but I would be interested to see if Brady in the playoffs, if he can spark something up. And Dallas is notorious for throwing up all over themselves in playoffs games.
Oh no, that's true. But I also wouldn't count out Carolina if Carolina plays Dallas because Dallas is not good at stopping the run. They're not
The,
good. And
the
then
only thing
imagine,
is Sam Darnold really going to win a playoff game? I mean, I could see them being there. Don't get me wrong. I
yeah,
could definitely see them being there, and they'll have the benefit of being the home team.
yeah. But man, just imagine that if the Panthers make the playoffs and they beat Dallas, a 12 or 13 win team,
I mean, how fast does Sean Payton become the next head coach of the
that's a
Dallas
coach of
Cowboys after
Cowboys.
that game? Yeah. How
Oh, it's got
fast
to
does
be
that
within
happen?
like 2 hours. 2 hours.
Yeah, if that happens, I'm honestly, if I'm Sean Payton, I'm rooting for Dallas and the Chargers to lose every week.
Oh well, the Chargers. At least the Chargers clinched the playoff spot, so there's he
And
has
their
that.
game this week has some big implications as well
It
if
would
they want
just
to
be
get
the
the five.
seeding
Yeah,
of
the
where they
five
play.
seed, and they have interest in the Dolphins losing to the Patriots as well. So it is an interesting week, and there are some games where you're just like I don't know what it really matters to teams, and the Chargers are one of those as they play the Rams. There's also the New Orleans Philly game where it's like Philly kind of doesn't really matter, but it kind of does. But now they're saying Jalen Hurts might play in the game, and it's like,
Yeah, just
do you really want him to play?
I feel like maybe they probably start Gardner Minshew in the first half, and if they see that they're losing, they'll probably go with Jalen Hurts and win it just so that way they could get the 1 seed and just like make sure it's over that the Vikings don't have a chance. Because I know if they lose out, they lose this game and next week, and Dallas wins next week. Dallas actually wins the
Wins the
NFC.
division, yeah.
They win the
But
division and
why
essentially
not
could
just
clinch
like?
the 1 seed.
But why not just like punt this game and then just win next week then, and get the
That is a very
motivation
good
going
point.
into the playoffs, and you have the bye already. And
That
the thing that I'm worried about the most if I'm them is all right. Even if Hertz is not 100%, you also don't have Lane Johnson, which you have to factor in as well, which
mhm.
is like a big piece to their offensive line. The guy hasn't given up a sack in like 6 seasons or something like that.
Yeah,
So it,
and
it is a crazy week, but we can move on to the NFC now, or we could stay in the NFC now as we have the Jets traveling to the Seattle Seahawks. And I mean, we mentioned it just in passing. I I think this Jets team is just a different animal when you consider that Zach
Mike
Wilson is
White.
not in the picture. It's just the Zach Wilson part. I don't think can be overstated. Like that Thursday game was just awful. Like they had no chance of moving the ball.
It was bad.
They
The
had
only
no
thing
chance of moving the ball.
I I wouldn't be surprised if the Jets win, but I also wouldn't be surprised if the Seahawks win because the Seahawks are fighting for a playoff spot right now.
The Seahawks need this game. They haven't won since I think they've only won 2 games since they've come back since that Germany trip.
Yep, they've yeah, I think it's like 2 or 3 games, but I mean they're fighting for their playoff lives. The good thing about it is that they are in Seattle, so they do have home field advantage. But man, I this also has playoff implications for Miles's Dolphins because let's say if the Dolphins lose and the Patriots lose, at least they know okay, this is one of the scenarios they need. They needed the Jets to lose this week, and next
Yeah.
week they kind of have to beat them and the Patriots to lose. So it's
And the
obviously
Jets lucked out last week with the Dolphins losing, and pretty much
yeah,
everybody else in the AFC picture losing as well.
yeah. So it's definitely there. The playoff implications are there, and I know for Seattle, they're definitely going to be watching the Commanders game because I know the Commanders game is going to have a big impact on them. So it's definitely something. But if I had to pick a winner, oh man, it's just the Jets defense is good, but they're going to be in a different animal because that 12th man, it's different over there, and there's a lot of young players on this Jets team. They haven't played there. They don't know what it's like to play in that stadium. Ah, I feel like the Seahawks probably win this by like a field goal.
I I really like the Jets this week. I think that Seahawks defense is not that good. I
Oh
know
no,
that
they're
they
not
have Woolen
good,
that I
but
like at cornerback, and we get probably the two best rookie cornerbacks in this class with Gardner and Tyreek Woolen going against each other this week. But I don't think Seattle is going to be able to stop them. And I just think this Jets team is just too talented, really. Like
they
when
got
you
a lot
have
of
a
talent.
competent quarterback, you look at the offense. It's Garrett Wilson, it's Elijah Moore. Uzmazada, who they got from Cincinnati, and Conklin at tight end, both help out, and
Corey Davis.
Corey Davis. They have a lot of weapons on the team, and I think the defense, I think will be able to travel to Seattle just because Gino's been kind of bad the last couple of weeks. Like
He
after the hot start, he's just been turning the ball over more.
yeah,
Has been the problem, and I think that does directly correlate to when Kenneth Walker
went
was
down.
injured and then went out of the lineup. So that I do think if it depends on what they get out of Kenneth Walker in this game, but I think it's going to be hard to run on this Jets defense.
Yeah, I mean it will be hard, but man, I just don't know because young players when they go play in Seattle, it's tough because once you've experienced the 12th man in Seattle, it is a different animal because a lot of false starts, a lot of jumping off sides, just because it's hard to go, and they're gonna have to go silent count in Seattle with a lot on the line. So I'm definitely curious to see how they go. But I feel like this should be a solid game. I feel like this will be one of the better games of the year, just for the simple fact of how much is on the line for both teams. So I'm very curious. I'm gonna have my eye on this game definitely.
Yeah, and honestly, like I think it could put both franchises in different directions based on how the game goes.
Definitely could.
Obviously, the Jets have the fallback of if the Dolphins lose, they still have a game basically straight up to try to still put themselves in the playoffs for the last week of the season. But you look at the Seahawks, they have the treasure chest of pieces and draft picks from the Denver Broncos and their own based off that trade. And do they move on from the Pete Carroll administration and go all in with a younger head coach and a rookie quarterback?
Very much could. Very much could.
And then with the Jets, just based on how everything's played out, like maybe they move on from their front office that drafted Zach Wilson, or and I do like Salah, but he's been there for a little bit, no
Yeah.
playoff appearances, so there
I
there is a
I
lot
would
riding on this.
personally move on from Salah. Don't get me wrong. I think he's a solid coach, but when you have a lot of first round picks and then that's when you finally get good, at that point it's kind of hard for me to say, all right, you're only good when you have a lot of good solid first round picks on your team. That's
I
really
mean,
when
but
you
you
have
could say that about San Francisco.
bro, San Francisco, I made the argument that Salah didn't deserve the Jets job. I
You
really made
could
that
say it
argument.
about San Francisco too. I mean, but they are really good though,
Yeah, no, they are good. I do give
and
him credit because
physical
this
too.
draft
So like
he
I
hit on almost every pick.
Yeah, and I well, that's the other thing about the front office too. Is like, all right, do you give them the pass about the Zach Wilson now that they had a really good and I just think that they're a solid team.
Yeah.
Like that's the thing.
And they made good signings. I like CJ. I like the CJ signing. I thought bringing in a tight end that who was a big factor for Cincinnati last year. I thought it was a great move. So I'm, oh,
And
man,
honestly, we can't forget to factor in it's the Geno Smith revenge game.
yeah, the Gino. Well, if he loses this game at this point, Gino's gonna have to write back.
Well, the thing is, he's 2-0 against the teams that he used to play on, as he beat the Chargers in Week 7 and he beat the Giants in Week 8,
That's right.
back to back.
That's right. I forgot because he they benched Eli for Gino. I
Yeah,
forgot they benched
yeah,
Eli,
never
which
forget.
is like we kind of saw. Well, not involving Gino personally, but a replica with Derek Carr this week. Derek Carr getting benched for Jarrett Stidham.
Yeah, yeah,
That one I really felt bad because I
that's
mean
tough.
I felt bad for Eli when he got benched. I like if that. Sorry to get off topic, everyone. If Eli would have got benched for a rookie quarterback that hadn't played, cool, I get that. But knowing that at the time he got benched for Geno Smith, that's where everyone's like, really?
But I mean, is Geno Smith at that point of his career not Jarrett Stidham?
And
I mean,
I
at
don't
least
even
Geno
know
had
what's
played because Stidham hasn't played. He has like
yeah.
78 career pass attempts. But I
No,
mean, we've known him because he was drafted, I think, fourth round by the Patriots, and they do that all the time, where they draft this just random guy and then they next Ryan Mallett, Matt Castle, no matter who it is, they always happen. And then
Brian
sometimes they kind
Hoyer.
of hit. Yeah, Brian Hoyer is always floating around. They had Jacoby. I mean, they've hit a couple of times. They've hit on the Jacoby Brissetts, the Jimmy Garoppolo. So it happens sometimes. The Matt Castle, they were able to turn into something and actually make a playoff appearance with that. But what's sneaky? The Raiders are a fun team to try to play around with who they're going to replace Carr with, because
I mean,
they have options. I mean, you want to
but the
go
only
big
thing
game
now,
hunting with Rodgers or Brady,
but
or
does Devontae still want to be there? That's the question.
it depends on who you bring in. I think it just depends on who you bring in. Because is he really going to request a trade in back-to-back seasons?
Man, because I mean, you could generally tell from this week, him and Derek Carr are boys. Like they are
Yeah, I
boys.
mean, but they go back. Yeah, what did you expect? They went to
Yeah,
college together.
yeah,
They
no,
have
but you could really see like how tight they are. I'm like, bro, you are not gonna. If you talk bad about one, the other one's gonna come right back and say, nah, that ain't true.
yeah. So, and yeah, he definitely stood up for him. And I do feel bad for Carr because I think a lot of things haven't broken his way in while in his tenure with the Raiders. And Dan Orlovsky pointed out on Twitter that they've had the 32nd ranked defense in the NFL
They've given up
while
four
he's
double
been out
digit
of there.
leads.
Well, not even just this season. Since he's been with the Raiders, they've had the 32nd ranked defense in that time span. So I don't think everything's to blame on Carr. This year, he's been a lot more unpredictable and more on
Yeah.
the turnover side. But I mean, I thought he absolutely balled last year, especially considering the circumstances and the fact that he had like no weapons.
Yeah, no, we gave him so much credit last year because he played good. He took a lesser team to the playoffs and was close. He was a throw away from essentially going to overtime in Cincinnati in a playoff game. So, but enough about that. We'll get back to our normal scheduled day program. If anyone wants to know what we'll think more about Derek Carr, we're going to try to put out a TikTok video for you guys.
Yeah, so and just going back to what we were talking about with the Seahawks and the Jets, the Seahawks playoff percentage sits right around like 22-25% right now. Those odds would increase to 53% if they beat the Jets this week. So it is a big game, and like you said, this is the type of game where the 12th man can definitely play a factor because you do have just a young offense coming in and a young offensive play caller too. So but
Yep.
they do have there is experience on the coaching staff with it. So we'll see how they coach their guys up and get the Jets prepared for this game because it will be very, very interesting to see if the Jets lose and the Dolphins lose, what the next week looks like as those teams match up in Miami.
Yep.
But let's bounce around. Let's bounce around. Keep the playoff implication games going in a game that I don't know what to make of it, and it could go. You could tell me either things happen. One team blows the other out, or the other gets blown out. The Vikings going to Lambeau Field and facing the Green Bay Packers, and I'll let you lead this one off, Angel, because I don't know what to make of it.
Oh man, it's kind of tough because I'm such a fan of Rodgers as a player, not as a person. And 'cause as a person, like I generally could
Just had
say,
to put that out there.
well, because I mean, like I'll be honest, this is just on the side.
It's been a lot the last couple of years.
I do think Aaron Rodgers is a very, very arrogant person, and he has like shown it. And I do think he's selfish in certain ways. But as a player, I cannot deny the quarterback he is, and I just don't know how he does it. Like every time when the Packers are in a bad spot, he said, "We're gonna run the table." They did. That year where they had so many injuries in 2016, where they got bounced in the second round, but in that no, they got, was it the second round? Yeah, it was probably the divisional game where they lost to Arizona, but it was in that crazy game where Rodgers hit a Hail Mary to I forgot what's his name, but the guy did it over Patrick Peterson, and I was amazed. Jeff Janis. And so I've seen Rodgers bring this team back, and the wide receivers are playing better. Obviously, the win in Miami does help momentum and their confidence going into this game. But man, if I'm the Vikings right now, I'm doing everything I can to win this game because they can be the team to say, we stopped Aaron Rodgers. We stopped Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers isn't making the playoffs because of us, not because of anyone else, because of us. So I could definitely see the Vikings trying their hardest. The only thing that hurts is that this will be in Lambeau Field. So I do think the Packers are going to have a lot of motivation. It's a division rival, and if they know they beat them, because like we said, that first week, we think if Christian Watson makes that play instead of drops that pass, that game is completely different instead of it being a
Completely
Viking
different.
blowout.
And honestly, the season might be different if that happens because I mean I've personally talked about the Vikings being frauds all season, but you have to kind of respect where they are right now because they're sitting at 12-3 and they even have an outside chance depending on what happens with
To
the
get the one
Eagles
seed.
at the 1 seed, or I mean they even have an outside chance depending on what happens with the 49ers of falling back at 3. So this game definitely there is motivation, and I think for them on a personal level, I think they're going to try to do everything possible to get Justin Jefferson to 2,000 receiving yards on the season, and he has a chance. He's going to have to ball out in the games, but he has a matchup with this Packers team where we saw both Waddle and Tyreek Hill get loose on them. So I do think it's attainable, but I I think the thing with the Packers is if they had Watson in this game because he did get banged up in the Dolphins game and missed I believe like the entire second half. He's going to be probably questionable going into the matchup, so we'll see what happens there. If they had Watson, I would like their chances a little bit more, but I think if they're going to win this game, they're going to have to do it on the ground. I don't
Yeah.
even think it's going to be a need for Rodgers to necessarily take over the game.
The good thing about it is that the Vikings defense are not great. That is the good
Not
thing for the
not the
Packers.
best.
So it does help them out a lot.
Yeah, but we've seen, I mean, this Vikings team, they just have such wild swings, whether, it's get blown out by the Cowboys or it's getting blown out in the entire first half against a team like the Colts and then storming all the way back. And then, you think, all right, they might struggle with the Patriots on Thanksgiving, but they just, they get the ball to Jefferson over and over again. And, that's the thing that wins. And even in that game, Cousins looked really good. Cousins looked really good in that matchup. So we'll see what happens. And for the Packers, there's definitely motivation because they're at home. They're fighting for their playoff slice. If they win out and they get the Commanders to lose one of their next two games or the Giants lose both of their games, they're in the playoffs. So
Yep.
it's not like they need a million things to happen. They just need to win out and then hope for
And
a
it very much
Commanders
could.
loss, which is
The
it out of the playoffs.
Commanders. It very much could happen with the Commanders.
Yeah, the Commanders could lose this week to Cleveland.
Yep.
You don't really know what could happen. And the Packers are three-time or 3 year in a row NFC North champions, and the Vikings have a chance to snatch the crown off their head at Lambeau Field. So that would be a pretty big game for the Vikings. And if I'm looking forward to it, I want to win this game so that if we advance in the playoffs and we have to play the San Francisco 49ers, that's a home game for us instead of having to travel there.
Yep, it definitely is. But oh, and we have a comment from Shay. Tweeted that Super Bowl prediction.
Ooh.
Oh,
Right
man, at the
now,
moment,
I don't know who's going to win the NFC right now.
Man, if Jimmy Garoppolo was healthy, I would say 49ers Chiefs. But at this moment, man, that's tough.
I'm going versus Bills versus Dude, should I say Buccaneers?
Oh my gosh. Bro,
No,
if the
I'll
Bucks make the
go
Super Bowl, I quit. I legit quit.
I'll go Bills 49ers.
I'll stick with what I have. I'll go Chiefs 49ers. I had that like mid-season, so I'm gonna stick with that. I'll stick with Chiefs 49ers.
No. I'll change mine. Mine is Bills Eagles. Bills Eagles.
Bills Eagles.
That's
If
how
not, I would see everyone. I don't mind if Cincinnati played in the Eagles. I feel like that could be a
Cincinnati,
good one.
I think the AFC is very interesting,
It's very
especially as it's shaking out,
yeah.
and especially the quarterback matchups that they're going to see. And
It could definitely be in play.
I would love for the football gods to bless us with a part 3 of Mahomes versus Herbert this season. I would love it. I would love it.
And no, for anyone, Myles did have some stuff to say about Justin Herbert before.
Yeah,
But
and
he's Myles,
gotten to the playoffs. Yeah.
yep.
I'm not a hater on the guy or anything. I just didn't want to crown him or anything before he actually like got into the playoffs.
Myles is a hater, but he's like here. He's not here, but he's like here.
Like I recognize he has talent. I was just like, yeah. Like, are we sure he's like the Prince Charming of the NFL already? Like there's this guy Mahomes that's here that's still pretty good,
Yeah. No, but it is good. But I do feel like we have to talk about something that's very important this week that is happening for one of us, and sadly it's not me. But before we go, I'll take this over for Myles. We're gonna give a shout out to our sponsor, E2G Sports, for broadcasting our podcast live on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, various other platforms. We love those guys over there. They really helped us transition from audio to video and audio. If you guys want to listen to our audio, please check out e2gsports.com, where you can find all your content on basketball, football, baseball, and various other sports. And you can even check them out on YouTube, where you can look at any other podcasts outside of us, where they have a lot of good content. And before we get started on the next topic, Shay tweeted that had a response to Myles, and it says this: Herbert has been bad. Last 2 games, 0 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. Anyone else would be crucified.
Listen, that's all I'm saying. All I'm saying. He has his moments. He has his moments, but I would love for that Chiefs Chargers part three to happen in the playoffs. That would be my favorite thing to happen to this for the rest of the season. To be honest.
It would, because they put up good games, but now I think we got to transition. So, Myles, I'm going to take over this one just to give the intro. So, for anyone who's been following, Monday we had to talk about Myles beating me in fantasy football, where Myles is now in the fantasy football championship against Nick. For anyone that doesn't know, I've played against Nick in fantasy for a while now. I think I played with him once in fantasy basketball, twice in fantasy football, and Nick is good. I told Myles about Nick. I was like, hey, Nick is sneaky. I said in our very beginning of like our scouting report of everyone. So now I'm going to be wishing Myles the best of luck because this is it. This is it.
Yeah, this is it. This is for all the marbles. And I told you when we were talking off air, I didn't come this far just to get this far. I'm trying
Yeah.
to take that. I'm trying to take that ship, and
And
this is a crazy
it's
crazy
50-50,
matchup
the
because
projections.
legit 50-50. I'm at 132.5 and Nick's at 131.5, but the projections are legit 50-50. Like that's as tight as you can get. And honestly, I think it's a credit to our league because I feel like we got the two like most even teams at this point going into it. And I I also would like to shout out the fantasy gods that we also didn't have anything like too bad happen to us as far as like guys getting hurt or as far as the two teams that made it, like I'm not talking about anybody that, because Debo got out for anybody
Yeah.
that made the playoffs, but or even last night, we didn't get anything crazy with guys or Derrick Henry not playing for somebody going into the championship game. So we lucked out, and it's gonna be a tight one because I think Justin Fields might go off. I think Justin Fields might go
Oh,
crazy
wow.
against that Detroit defense, and Nick has Jody Fields.
So I'm gonna read out Nick's lineup, and then Myles will read out his lineup. So Nick has Justin Fields, Najee Harris, Nick Chubb, Devontae Adams, Christian Kirk, T.J. Hawkinson, Cam Akers, Jags defense, Graham Gano, and he has the punter for the Cardinals. Now, Myles, you want to read them your lineup?
Yeah, so I'm going Joey Burrow, James Conner, Kenneth Walker, Tyreek Hill, Devonta Smith, George Kittle, Christian Watson, which is TBD. I might switch out the flex. I'm going Pittsburgh's defense, which is Baltimore at 820. That's the late game. I got Tyler Bass, who's not playing until Monday. And I got Philly's punter, who I might have to drop because the only reason I scooped him was for last week. I thought their
And
offense
you
might.
got 0.
Yeah, I know. I thought their offense might not be able to move the ball that well with Minshew, so maybe he'll get some punts. But I'll definitely the Tennessee punter would have been a smart move, considering that they started Josh Dobbs. But since that one's off the board, I'm actually gonna do live. We're doing a live edit to my
Oh,
roster right
live
now.
edit to your lineup.
Is I'm dropping the Philly kicker for the Indy kicker because I mean you can't tell me that Indianapolis is going to be moving the ball at
Indianapolis'
all.
punter is available?
Yeah, Matt Hack. So we're going. We'll do that. We'll move that. Move me up to 133.4. So there you go, guys. A live addition to my lineup. But I honestly, I really kind of want to start Lockett at flex because he is returning this week. But I'm kind of scared of Sauce. That's the reason I have him on the bench.
And also, for anyone, Myles does have a couple of injuries on his team.
Yeah, I
He
got a
ha-
bunch of guys with questionable status.
I mean, Kenneth Walker is up there, like we said, Christian Watson and James Conner. The only thing that kind of helps Myles this week is that Derek Carr is getting benched, so we don't know what kind of
Yeah,
numbers Devontae Adams is
but
going to
if,
put up.
if I'm Jared Stidham, why am I not like feed Devontae Adams the ball? Like, why am I not looking at him every single snap?
And we might have a winner on Sunday night. We might have the winner going into Monday. We might know because I don't think any. Well, you have
I
Joey
just
B
have
on Monday.
Bass. Oh, I have Bass and Burrow, but I'm so scared of Fields, bro. I think Fields might carve
He
up
might have a
Detroit.
field day. But with the way
Literally.
how Detroit has been playing, you have a shot because Detroit has been playing some good football lately.
I don't know, but they can't stop the run. Carolina just went crazy on them. So I'm like, damn, Fields might like rip off a 70-yard run.
And that could have been the
I
transaction of the
honest
year.
I honestly feel like the two like actual like keys to the matchup are our last two receiver and tight ends. So our receiver twos this week are going to be Kirk versus Devonta Smith with Nick having Christian Kirk, and then Nick starting T.J. Hawkinson at tight end, and I'm going with Kittle. Which Kittle did have the giant game last week, but I mean that's basically like his first time
Yeah.
rewarding any fantasy owners. And then Devontae had a giant game, but he's hot and cold as well. But I do think that they're going to try to feed him the ball a little bit too.
Oh, and he also has Foreman on his bench. But I
But
was gonna say what I'm kind of shocked. I understand him starting the Jags defense, but he also has the Giants defense who plays against Indy.
ooh, yeah, that might
That
be
could,
something you
oh
might want to
well,
alert.
I did forget to mention Nick is a Giants fan, so but still, that's not a bad matchup to have.
You might want to alert him of that one because that's a little suspicious. That's a
What, that
little
he has the
suspicious.
Giants defense?
Yeah, I would put the Giants defense in.
Oh well, but
Yeah.
I want a fair matchup,
Okay.
and no, we are gonna try to have a podcast with Nick and give it to you guys out because we're gonna be having the two who face off in the championship live, and it will be basically talking about what the other did wrong, and then who knows, there might be some bad blood.
It'll be for bragging rights.
And I talked to Nick earlier today. I was like, hey, I wish him luck. And I'm obviously going to wish Myles luck. As a commissioner, I'm looking forward to see who wins, even though it should be me. Because I know
It should be you, should be me. If we're being honest, I should win. I had the best record in either division of the league well, not by far because I tied with Alex, but still, I went 10-4 and scored the second most amount of points. I scored the most points in the entire league. It should be me.
in fact, I actually want to see how much, because I know I'm second. I want to know how much.
I'm at 1942. You're at 1938, bro. Let's go, dog. Those 3 points are
If
huge.
they only counted the playoffs, because I know my first week of playoffs, if that was counted, I'll be running away with this by a country mile.
Yeah, but I was still 10-4. Let's go. Like, if anybody deserves it, it is me. But I'm trying to humble myself going into this matchup. I told you I didn't come this far just to get this far.
Man. Well, guys, that was a little bit of saltiness for me just because I wanted to win. I really did. I wanted that trophy. But the winner.
I feel you because you started the league this year too. So I feel you for saying you should have deserved it.
But the winner will get their trophy. The trophy will be shipped by Peter, and the winner will get their $850 plus the trophy, depending on how long that will
I'll
take.
text Peter when we finish this.
What?
I said I'll text Peter when we finish this then.
Oh, okay. I mean, yeah, if you want to, text Peter, send him your address. It's like, hey, since I already know I'm gonna win, like, here's my thing.
No, just no explanation, just my address. That's it.
Just your address.
He'll know.
And also your Cash App, because Peter has some of the money, I have some of the money, so he technically has to. If you win, he does have to send that to you. And I told Nick gave me his, so I'm all good with there. So we do have it there. So maybe on Monday, but if by Monday Night Football we have a winner, we will. Obviously, I'll let Myles have his victory speech on Monday,
sir.
like how he had let me have mines last year. So we'll have that. If not on Friday, whether Nick or Myles, whoever wants to be, whoever's the winner will have their victory speech. I'll probably just have one on with me because I don't want the other one to see the other victory speech. I'll just be like, hey, can you just give me like 5 minutes and then I'll hop you in? Because I mean, that's a first. The two people in the championship will be in the podcast,
too. And it's going to be a good matchup too. So I'm looking forward to what happens, and hopefully my guys show up. I mean, it's out of my hands. I can set my lineup as many times as I want. I just need a couple touchdowns here, a couple extra yards, no fumbles.
Yeah,
nothing fluky. Hopefully,
man, and it's gonna be good. I'm looking forward to it. I wish both of you guys luck. I'm definitely gonna be. I'm gonna keep an eye on it. The only thing I honestly
might just delete the app and check like going into the late game.
going into
Yeah, because I know if I check it once, I'm gonna be checking it like every 5 seconds.
that was me last year during the championship game. I was able to find the like sleeper on my computer, and then I had my laptop on from like 1 o'clock to like 8 o'clock.
You're just getting the live stats as it goes.
I was just like checking like every 5 minutes. I would go to the TV and just I'll come back in my room. I'm looking at it, I'm like, okay, so far so good. And then I'll just keep going. I'll keep
Yeah,
going.
I might just delete the app and be like, all right, I know who's in my lineup. I'll be watching Red Zone, so I'll see any touchdowns. I'll see anything that happens, and hopefully no one gets injured.
Hopefully.
Let me knock on
Knock
some
on
wood
wood.
there. Yeah,
Man.
so I'm definitely looking forward to it. It
That
should be
is
a good one.
that is good. And guys, this is our last podcast of 2022.
Yep, the
And
next time we'll talk to you guys will be in the next year, in the new
yep.
year.
And I think we gotta end this off the right way. Our favorite moment of 2022.
Yeah, we were talking about our candidates, off air before we got started, and I'm gonna go. This one was a great sports moment, and it was kind of one of those like, oh my goodness, I can't believe what I'm watching, and it was a combination. I was with some friends, so it was a good time. The Kansas City Chiefs versus the Buffalo Bills divisional playoff game. It was the start of this year, so it started off the year on a bang. And I was also talking to Angel because when you consider that right before that, we had the Los Angeles Rams versus the Tampa Bay Bucks with Brady potentially, being his last game, and he throws that touchdown to Mike Evans right on top of Jalen Ramsey's head. It was probably one of the best sports day we had all year. So that's going to be my pick if you give me like a day, but actual like game and moment, like those 13 seconds when the Chiefs got the ball back, that was phenomenal.
Oh man, it was probably one of the craziest games ever. And my favorite sports moment, it's kind of like up and down. One is simply funny and just unbelievable, and the other one is actually very heartfelt because it is kind of like a closure. So the funny one was Antonio Brown saying deuces to the NFL essentially and running out. For anyone that doesn't know, before E2G, we were on Spotify, Anchor, and other platforms. The day that happened, me and Myles went on and recorded about like maybe 4 hours later, and we made a video. We were like, we had to get this out like tomorrow by like the end of tonight. We got to edit it so that way it's up tomorrow. We're like the first ones. We got that. That was a fun moment for me just because we laughed. Like we simply laughed and we're just like, bro, what is going on?
Yeah,
But
we didn't know that was the start of his rap career.
and yep, like you said, the start of his rap career. But in the emotional one, I will have to say it's Coach K leaving the court after his final game. That was definitely a very heartfelt moment for me because college basketball was essentially Coach K for me.
Yeah, especially
Watching
for Fifth
Duke
Our Lifetime. Yeah.
like being a top tier program from start to finish, they are that was essentially the team to watch. And I would have to say it was for me. It was Coach K definitely leaving the court, and man, it was
But there was a lot of stuff to pick from. Even we were talking about even just recency bias, and I don't even think it's that much of recency bias. The World Cup final that we just went through with France losing to Argentina, that was an amazing game. We also, I thought I was saying we were trying to find something local. I couldn't really find too many things local. I said the Canes basketball team making it to the Elite Eight, but there wasn't too many local moments. I mean, the Heat did win the East in the regular season and then go to the Eastern Conference Finals, but it wasn't like they had. If that Jimmy Butler shot went in, obviously that would have been
that would be
the
our moment.
clear number one
Number
bullet.
one moment for us.
Yeah,
Like hands down. Jimmy Butler shot in game 7.
yeah, but we've been here through all of it, breaking it down for you guys on 305 takes, and we've enjoyed every moment of it. Thank you guys as always for listening, supporting, and we'll be here to talk to you on the flip side of the next year, honestly. And we appreciate you guys for always being here. So until next time, peace.